Hello, student. Very good morning. We are back again with the another topic that is about application of Ellingham diagram. The first application we have extraction of iron from oxides, in which we discuss how the blast furnaces work, which kind of reaction will take place, and also at the end of the video we are going to discuss about different classes of iron, that is a pig iron, cast iron, wrought iron, etc. So, without wasting much more time, let's get started. Iron oxide, the ore from which iron to be extracted, is concentrated by a roasting or a calcination so that water get eliminated as a vapor. Carbonate gets decomposed to carbon dioxide and sulfide get oxidized to sulfur dioxide as shown in the reaction. This concentrated ore mixed with a limestone and coke. They are mixed with a limestone and a coke and sent into a blast furnace to reduced metal oxide to metal. Here, coke reduces ferrous oxide to iron, releasing carbon dioxide as shown in the equation here. This is a combination of two simple reactions. In the first reaction, ferrous oxide get reduced into the iron. Let the change in the Gibbs free energy for this reaction be delta G FeO Fe. In the second reaction, carbon gets oxidized to carbon monoxide. Let the change in this reaction delta G be delta G carbon into carbon monoxide as shown in the step 1 and step 2 reaction. When these two reactions are occurs, the net Gibbs free energy change become delta G of reaction, that is delta G into bracket carbon monoxide plus delta G into bracket FeO Fe. This becomes spontaneous when the delta G reaction is negative in nature. Ellingham diagram is useful in predicting the condition under which a metal ore can be reduced to the metal. It gives information to predict the equilibrium temperature between metal oxide and metal. If a graph is plotted for a standard Gibbs free energy change delta G naught against temperature T in a Kelvin scale, capital T for the both the reaction, then it go upwards for a reduction of a ferrous oxide to iron, that is a FeO Fe, and downwards for the oxidation of a carbon to carbon monoxide, that is a carbon into carbon monoxide. From the graph you can see that at a temperature above 1073 Kelvin, carbon reduces Fe oxide into Fe, but itself undergoes oxidation to form a carbon monoxide. Thus, the carbon-carbon monoxide oxidation line crosses the ferrous oxide Fe reduction line and then remains below it. Let us apply this concept to extraction of iron in an iron furnace. In the furnace, ferrous oxide is reduced to a different temperature. Ferrous oxide ore is introduced into a furnace from the top. At the same time, coke is in a lower portion of the furnace, blowing hot air to produce a temperature of 2200 Kelvin. When the coke burns, it produces carbon monoxide and the required for the process. The heat produced moves upward along with the carbon monoxide. The temperature at the top of the furnace is lower and hence iron oxide like Fe3O4 and Fe2O3 get reduced to ferrous oxide. In the different stages, this corresponding to the intersection points in the curves, which we just discussed. Let us now see how iron oxides get reduced to iron in a different temperature range. Between 500 to 800 Kelvin, carbon monoxide reduces into Fe oxide. As shown here, carbon monoxide act as a reducing agent since it has a low negative delta G values for the oxidation of a carbon monoxide to carbon dioxide than for the oxidation of carbon to carbon monoxide. Thus, in a blast furnace, hematite is reduced by carbon monoxide. Even carbon is mixed with it. The equation for this reaction is Fe2O3 plus 3 mole of carbon monoxide. It will produce 2 moles of Fe plus 3 mole of carbon dioxide. In the temperature range of 900 to 1500 Kelvin, carbon monoxide reduces ferrous oxide to Fe as shown here. Silica is an impurity. Limestone removes it in a form of a molten slag, which is taken away from the bottom of the furnace. The molten iron obtained in this process contains 4% carbon along with the some other impurities like sulfur and phosphorus. It is called pig iron. Pig iron is melted with the scrap iron and coke in the presence of a hot air to form cast iron, which contains only 3% of carbon. It is hard but brittle. Cast iron is heated in the reverberatory furnace aligned with a hematite which oxidizes carbon to carbon monoxide to get wrought iron or malleable iron, the purest form of the iron. In this process, limestone is added to remove the impurity in the form of a slag. The metal is removed and separated from a slag by passing through roller. Okay, so we are starting our NCERT portion. In NCERT, we have a topic number 6.4.1, that is the application of a Hellingham diagram. Just in a last lecture, we were discussing about the Hellingham diagram, and now we are mainly dealing with the application, means how it actually help to us in the metallurgical portion or in an industrial area. So the first application is about extraction of iron. With the help of Hellingham diagram, we can extract iron from its oxide. Let's see how actually it works. After a concentration, as we are knowing that we need to concentrate ore first of all. So after the first step, that is a concentration of ore, mixture of oxide ores of iron, that is a Fe2O3 and Fe3O4. We are knowing that the hematite and magnetite are the important ore of iron, and that is actually applicable over here, means we are using hematite and magnetite as the source of iron. So this oxide ore is subjected to a calcination or a roasting. We are going for the calcination as well as we are going for the roasting to remove water, to decompose carbonate and to oxidize sulfides. So the purpose of a calcination or roastings are three purposes. As shown here, that is the first purpose is about removal of water, second purpose is about decomposition of carbonate ore, and the third one to oxidize sulfide. After that, these are mixed with the limestone and coke. Okay, this point is the most important. We mixed two compound, that is the limestone and coke, with iron ore, and then fed into a blast furnace from its top, in which the oxide is reduced to a metal. Our oxide is directly reduced to a metallic portion in a blast furnace. You can see here the diagram is of a blast furnace, and we add ore and coke and limestone from the above portion. as you clearly see over here, the above portion where cup and cone arrangement is there, you can see that this portion, that is a blue portion, is like a cup, while the another portion that is shown by red here, it is a cone. Actually it is a inverted cone portion. So overall this is known as a cup and cone arrangement. It is settled above the blast furnace. So the figure 6.5 is a blast furnace figure. Reduction of iron oxide takes place at different temperature ranges. A blast of a hot air is blown from the bottom of the furnace. You can see over here, the blast of air, actually hot air with the oxygen, is a flow from the downward side, because as we are knowing that the burning process is only takes place in the presence of air or oxygen. That's why we use air to sustain a fire. So now next point. The burning coke in the lower portion of the given temperature up to about 2200 Kelvin means coke and air burns itself and they produce a temperature of 2200 Kelvin. The burning of a coke therefore supplies most of the heat required in the process. The carbon monoxide and the heat moves to the upper part of the furnace. As we are knowing that the gaseous particle goes upward side, so the gas particle and so the air actually goes towards the upside. Initially, when we are burning the coke, the temperature was too high, that is 2200 Kelvin, but as the gas goes upward side, temperature is continuously decreases. Now the next point, the carbon monoxide and heat moves to the upper part of the furnace. In the upper part, the temperature is lower and the iron oxide, that is Fe2O3 and Fe3O4 coming from the top are reduced in steps to ferrous oxide. It simply means that our initial oxide, that is Fe2O3 and Fe3O4, are directly converted into FeO, that is ferrous oxide. This reaction can be summarized as follow. So now the important point, at a different temperature we are going to discuss which kind of reaction takes place. First of all, we have the reduction or conversion of ferrous or ferric oxide into FeO is shown here. So initially we have a Fe2O3, it is directly converted into Fe3O4. Again Fe3O4 is converted into Fe, but focus on the last reaction. Fe2O3 also can be directly converted into Fe. So here much more reaction takes place. We are not mainly concerned with that. The point here for the remember is that each and every reagent is alternatively converted into a ferrous oxide. Ultimately we get what? FeO, that is a ferrous oxide. Now the important point is come. Limestone is also decomposes to calcium oxide, which removes silicate impurities. Focus over here. This is the most important point. We actually add from our side, that is a calcium carbonate. This is known as the limestone. Initially limestone is converted into calcium oxide as shown here in the chemical reaction. You can see from the first reaction, that is a calcium carbonate, that is the limestone is converted into calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide. This calcium oxide can be used to form a slag. Calcium oxide, when combined with the silicates or silica, it produces one compound having a chemical formula CaSiO3. The common name of this formula is a slag. So now let's look at the reaction taking place at a 900 to 1500 Kelvin. That is a higher temperature range in the blast furnace. At this temperature, carbon and carbon dioxide are combined together and they converted into a carbon monoxide. This is the first reaction. While in the second reaction, ferrous oxide, which is produced at the 500 Kelvin, it reacts with the carbon monoxide and produces Fe and carbon dioxide. Here we get a metallic Fe and another component is the carbon dioxide, which is in the gas form, and it itself removed from the blast furnace. Okay, fine. Let's look for the next point. Thermodynamics help us to understand how coke reduce the oxide and why this furnace is chosen. Means from the thermodynamic aspect we can understand what is the role of carbon over there and why this kind of furnace is only used. So one of the main reduction step in this process involved in a reaction 6.27 given below. Means ferrous oxide combined with the carbon and produce Fe in the form of solid or a liquid state along with the carbon monoxide. This reaction can be seen as a reaction in which two similar reactions have a coupled. In one of the reaction FeO is taking place and in the other carbon is being oxidized to carbon monoxide. तो यहाँ पे आपको दो पॉइंट के ऊपर फोकस रखना है. फर्स्ट पॉइंट क्या है समझना, हमारे पास जो फेरस ऑक्साइड है उसका रिडक्शन हो रहा है, जबकि कार्बन हमारे पास है उसका ऑक्सीडेशन हो रहा है. कैसे समझना है, अगर ऑक्सीजन रिमूव होगा तो रिडक्शन, ऑक्सीजन ऐड होगा तो ऑक्सीडेशन. तो आप देख रहे हो कि पहले में ऑक्सीजन रिमूव हो रहा है, दूसरे में ऑक्सीजन ऐड हो रहा है, तो आप बता सकते हो कि रिडक्शन और ऑक्सीडेशन हो गया. नाउ फोकस ऑन द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. व्हेन बोथ द रिएक्शन टेक्स प्लेस टू यील्ड द इक्वेशन 6.27, then net Gibbs free energy change is become. Means for the both reaction we have the delta G value, that is a delta G naught of FeO-Fe and the delta G naught for the carbon monoxide. Whenever we are combining the reaction we must combine the Gibbs energy as well. So for the overall reaction or for the complete reaction we are dealing with the two kind of energy. The first Gibbs free energy is about carbon to carbon oxide conversion and the second one is about the ferrous oxide to iron conversion. Naturally the resultant reaction will take place when the right hand side in a equation is a negative. So whenever we have a delta G value negative, then the reaction will spontaneous. If we have a delta G in the positive term, then there is no chance for the possibility of a reaction. In a delta G naught versus temperature plot representing the change in the Fe to FeO as shown in the figure, the line is a upward direction and that representing the carbon to carbon monoxide goes downward. We are knowing that for the most of the metals line in the Ellingham diagram is upward side, that is for the metal, while in case of carbon monoxide line is the downward side. So they are repeating the same point. So they cross each other at about 7000, sorry, they cross each other at 1073 Kelvin. At a temperature above 1073 Kelvin, the carbon monoxide line is below the iron oxide line. But as we crosses the 1073 Kelvin, as we crosses the 1073 Kelvin, the scenario is quite different. So above 1073 Kelvin, in the range of temperature about 900 to 1500 Kelvin, coke will reduce ferrous oxide and will itself be oxidized to carbon monoxide. Let us try to understand this through the diagram, actually from the graph. At about 1673 Kelvin, means 1400 degrees Celsius, delta G naught value for the reaction is given in the diagram. Okay, now focus in this diagram, you will find all the answer of your questions. Look at around the 1400 degrees Celsius. Here we have the two chemical reaction. For the first reaction, that is FeO2O2, we have a value that is a plus 341 kilojoule per mole, means we have a positive value. While in case of the carbon monoxide formation reaction, we have only minus 447 kilojoule. While if we change the reaction, means we are not concerned with the ferrous oxide. If we are combine the two equation given here, means equation number 1 and equation number 2, we get overall delta G in the negative term. We have a minus 106 kilojoule per mole. It simply means that the reaction is spontaneous at a 1400 degrees Celsius. So they explain these kind of terms in the first paragraph. Let's read it only. We have a chemical reaction and having the Gibbs free energy at a 341 kilojoule, because it is the reverse of FeFeO changes, and for this reaction we have a second reaction having a delta G is about a minus 447 kilojoule per mole. If we calculate delta G value from the overall value, we get the minus 53 kilojoule per mole, or we can also get for the 2 moles that is a 106 kilojoule per mole. In a similar way, for the reduction of Fe3O4 and Fe2O3 by carbon monoxide at a relatively low temperature can be explained on the basis of the lower length points of the extraction of their curves with the carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide curve. The iron obtained from the blast furnace contains 4% carbon. Now here we have the definition of the pig iron. If someone is asking about your pig iron, you must have idea that the carbon content will be the 4%. So for the pig iron, we have a 4% carbon content, along with the some other impurities like sulfur, phosphorus, silicon, manganese, etc. If we discuss about the cast iron, then cast iron is quite different from the pig iron, but it made from the pig iron by melting pig iron with this scrap. We taking scrap, we taking coal, we taking iron, and we just heat it to the redness, in which the carbon content will lower out, and we get the 3% carbon content along with the metal itself. Actually, the cast iron is extremely hard and brittle. Now the last point, we have a further reductions. By the further reducing the cast iron, we can get actual the strongest form of iron, that is a wrought iron. Wrought iron or a malleable iron is the purest form of the commercial iron and is prepared from the cast iron by oxidizing impurity in a refractory furnace lined with the hematite. The hematite oxidize carbon to carbon monoxide, means the 3% carbon can again get reduced and we get the lower amount of carbon. Actually, this is the purest form of the iron. Limestone is also added in this reaction as a flux, obviously to remove the several kind of silicones or silica. It also removed the sulfur, silicon and phosphorus and oxidized and passed into a slag, means our most of impurity will get removed. If we have a sulfur, then it will be removed. If we have a silicon, it will be removed. If we have a phosphorus, then again it will be removed. The metal is removed and freed from the slag by passing through rollers. We have rollers and we pass it out, we get the purest from the iron. So it is all about the extraction of the iron from its oxide ore. Now the next point is about extraction of a copper from cuprous oxide. That will be discussed in the next lecture. Okay, fine. That's all from my side. We are take a pause over here and the remaining portion will be discussed on the next lecture. Again, the same procedure. You have to complete your homework and send it to me. Go through line by line, write one time and send it to me via WhatsApp. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.